Good evening, fellow gamers. Welcome. It is now set 2 in JPG0. That sounds like a lot of different noises all at once, but that is indeed a phrase. Today we're going to be taking a look at some day 1 decks, and I really have to emphasize that these are day 1. Out of the 4 new decks in this set, I've only really played with one of them. I've been playing with Aqua Fours a lot, and everything else I'm kind of like leaving for future weeks to like enhance and make better. So take these as they are. They're kind of like skeletons to give you an idea of how you can start building the decks, but it's like honestly most of these are largely untested and just some early things I threw together and played like 2 games with so far, and like haven't even made big changes to, except for Aqua Fours, which I've been playing a lot of and have been making a lot of changes to, so that way you can kind of take more for granted, I guess. But even then, I'll try to improve it as much as possible for the actual deck and fights when I do cover these decks. So let's get started right away. Don't want to waste too much of you guys' time. It's also the second time I'm recording this because my audio bugged out on the first recording. So let's start with Aqua Fours, which is of course the deck that I've been playing by far the most, and I've made a lot of changes, right? I was trying out like the Soul Blast 1 gain 5k guy on like 4th attack or more. I've been thinking about Tidal Assault, but it really doesn't feel like it's that good in 0, and this is what we have right now, right? So main Vanguard of course is Thavas. You always want to ride him. He gives you the on stride to retire your opponent's rear guards, and also his GB2 has a guard restrict and a crit on 4th battle. But the main focus of the deck is really Lambros. When on GB2 you attack with him, it's the 4th. If it's the 4th or more battle that turn, G Persona Blast, stand 2 rear guards, give them 5k. Now when this was revealed, people were like, oh, it's not 10k, this is gonna be so bad. It's still very good. I think if it was 10k, it might actually be a bit too much for 0, but of course that's what we build around, right? We have to hit 4 battles. Diamantes is still one of the best ways to do that. Diamantes and Basil together. So I still run them just because they're still so damn good, and you do want to play 9 draws in this because it helps. Your last one-up can be whatever. I play Glory for the memes. I've never got into this card. I'm probably going to change it, but it's funny for the time being, but I'll probably switch it out. Your first ride will usually be the Tidal Bore, just because it's like on hit to draw 1, and the call is not compulsory. You can draw 1 without calling, which is really cool, so it's pretty good for that reason already. And then of course we have the 12k attacker in GB1. You can play the old one, the Coral Assault, if you want to. Don't have to play the new one. I'm just testing the new one. Algos for more potential draw. I've seen this in a lot of Japanese lists, so I tried it out and actually quite like it. And then 4 Magnum Assault. In my opinion, he is the best card. I think he's like the best grade 2 in the deck next to Basil, because this allows you to do like 7 attacks in a turn. I did this on stream once, and it's really strong. Like, it just burns through your opponent's hand or just kills them on the spot, which is also really, really good. Stride Fodder PG is pretty self-explanatory. Penguin as well. Soul Blast 2, draw card. We love drawing. But this is the grade 1, the Ortea, that I'm still testing, and I'm not too sure if I'll keep her or not. I like the resist, and at the end of the battle she boosts. You can almost 1 Soul Blast 1 to stand the thing she boosted and give it minus 5k, so it's basically a Tidal Assault. But I just don't know how much I like the minus 5k. Like, it's cool to push out more potential attacks, but I've seen people try out stuff like Wheel Assault that might actually be a bit better, because especially if you attack with like, I don't know, Diamantes that then goes back to the back row, you can swap that out into like, you know, something better, and maybe put like an 11k in the front, and then, you know, be able to make better magic number columns. I'm not sure, like maybe Wheel Assault is worth trying out more, but for now I've been trying her out. The resist has been pretty cool, so that's definitely a good thing. And of course the Bobble Edge Draco Kid, ooh, you definitely should play this card. I think it's better than a new starter personally, because this will always draw you 2 cards, like unless they kill it of course, but this is like the easiest draw 2 you can get, so it's a nice booster early game, and then later on you put into the soul for a better booster that you're going to put in its place, and it still converts into 2 cards, which is gives you a soul and gives you 2 cards to basically use for future turns, right? So I think it's also really good. So I do prefer to play this starter over the last one, which I was testing a lot, but didn't feel as good, let's just say it like that. Now for Neonectar, I'm still really refining this one, so please take the list with a grain of salt. It's very much in the early testing stages, but I just have some first impressions to talk about, I guess, more so than the deck list itself. My main first impression is this card. Jingle Flower is way better than I thought, right? He says GB2 once per turn G Persona Blast. Until the end of the next turn, you give one of your rear guards a skill. For every unit that you have another unit of, all of your units get plus 2k power. So basically, if you have like 4 of the thing with the same name, then you get +8. Does that make sense on all of your units, which is pretty cool? But this stays on your opponent's turn, which means you can have like a 15k or 17k Vanguard, and that obviously denies the very popular Aqua Fours right now from hitting you with stuff like their, I don't know, their Diamantes and stuff like that. And it makes your rear guards tankier too, so your intercepts are tankier and forces them to boost as well. which some decks don't have the luxury to do. But of course, Brawler still eats this alive, but it's actually pretty good stride. It's way better than I thought they would make it. Of course, Primavera, multi-attack, gets 5 attacks out, which is pretty good for Counterblast 2. And then this is also like your 4th attack enabler on hit to search something, you know, search a rearguard that you have on the board from your deck and call it, give it plus 2k. So it's pretty good. It's a nice little attack extender, so I think it's quite nice. Asha herself got buffed too, like now she calls something first before cloning, which is really nice. So you don't have to have like keep stuff on the board before striding. I play a lot of draws, but honestly I feel like I might change it to like more stands or something, or crits. I don't know, like the on hit makes me want to play stands because the on hit is pretty good, but honestly like you plus so much from all these like cloning effects that I don't think you really need the draws that much. Like the flower screen and the Pia are really important in like putting stuff back to bottom and then cloning the name so that your Jingle Flower can actually like hit for bigger power. Same for the Gladiolus, she's good for mid-battle phase cloning, literally a Knight of Twin Swords, so it's pretty good. I do want to put up this card a bit more, which is, you know, the Countercharger. Countercharges 2 on hit to Vanguard, which is pretty good, but the one card I'm not sure about is like the Mare Hope and Mare Dreamer. So Mare Hope puts itself back to deck to call a Mare Dreamer, which is a grade 2 from your deck, which is cool. I want to put back grade 1s to call intercepts for free, that's nice. But this guy at the end of your turn lets you Counterblast 1, Soulblast 1, put him back to the deck to call 2 Mare Hopes from your deck. I don't want to do that. I don't want to lose an interceptor for 2 boosters, so I will not use that ability. So does that make sense why I play this ratio? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to take them out and just like play something else. I don't know, like it was just kind of an attempt to see how this would work, but didn't feel that good. For the start, I'm also trying out the Ozu for the time being. She basically just like clones one of your rearguards for you, which is pretty good. You can get a free intercept out of her, which is nice. But aside from that, the deck feels pretty good. It pluses way more than I remember, and the power is pretty high, so I feel like maybe playing more stands might be worth it, especially with triple drive making it more accessible. I'm running this as like the backup like rearguard as well, which is like on Vanguard hit, Counterblast 1, and clone something that isn't her, which is multi-attack basically, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's Neonectar for now. Lots of improvements to be made. This 10 trigger is also pretty good, so I might want to just play 4 of it, to be honest. So we'll see. This is a work in progress. This is a work in progress. All right, so that's Neonectar. Please also give me your ideas. If you're testing Neonectar yourself in 0JP right now, please give me ideas in the comments because I would love to see them. But for now, let's move on to Harmony. So of course, Harmony is the first keyword mechanic. You know, people were asking like, oh, when are we going to get keywords in 0? Well, there you go. We have keywords in 0 now. So the Harmony keyword basically means that when another unit with the Harmony ability is placed in the same column as this unit, they become harmonized. No, actually, it's not another unit with Harmony. It's literally when another unit is placed in the same column as a unit with the Harmony ability, both units become harmonized. So she says, for example, when you're in a Harmony state, put her into the soul, bounce a rearguard, and draw a card. Right, so that's kind of how it works. Your main Vanguard Loris gets a crit and gives 2 of your units plus 5k when she harmonizes on GB2, and on stride she can Counterblast 1 to bounce one of your rearguards back to your hand and draw a card, which is pretty good. It's a little bit of plus. Like this deck pluses a lot, so I actually want to play crits in it. Might even play more than just 4, to be honest. Also, this is a placeholder. You should definitely play 4 Olivia if you have them, but I only have 2 for the time being. She's a really good stride. GB2, Counterblast 1G Persona Blast on attack to bounce any number of your different named rearguards to hand. And if you bounce 3 or more, call a front row and back row card from your hand to your rearguard circles, and then she gains a crit, which is cool. Like you get a 4th attack, potentially 5th if you use Spica, and an extra crit. Spica, of course, lets you on attack when boosted, Counterblast 1, bounce a non-Spica rearguard to call something from hand and give it plus 3k, which is cool. Makes anything into a 12k attacker. If you call 12k attacker, makes it 15. With a 7k boost, that's 22, which is good numbers hitting over defensives. I play 4 resists / on bounce, Counterblast 1, draw card, because good card. Potpourri doesn't really do much, in my opinion, in 0 compared to the TCG, because you can't, you know, loop it. But it's okay. It's okay. It's still fine to run as a 1-of, I think. And then she's good as okay. Searches out your grade 3s from deck, so you get Stride Fodder, which is fine. PGs, Stride Fodders, and then Soul Blast 2, Counter Charge 2. You Counter Blast a lot in this deck, but you don't Soul Charge that much, so I don't want to play more than 2. I think it's fine as a 2-of. And then, of course, our first stride is the Somni. She's on hit Vanguard, bounce one of your rearguards back to your hand, and then call a card from hand to rearguard circles, and give it 3k. So kind of the same as the Neonectar one, to be honest, so it's fine. It's fine. Or no, it's kind of the same as the Aqua Fours one, actually, but it doesn't draw, which is pretty important. So that's going to be the Harmony build. And then finally, we have duos with Mir. So Mir, the break ride, says, When you break right over it, you get 10k, and the skill that when you attack once per turn, count +1, bounce any number of your rearguards back to your hand, and then call 2 from your hand. So that skill is worth to keep in mind because the new mirror says, when she attacks the Vanguard from break 4, gain the following ability. At the end of that battle, count +1, discard 3, and choose the break ride mirror from your soul, ride it as stand, draw 2, and bounce this card back to your hand. So you discard 3, but you draw 2 and get her back. So you basically get the 3 back just for doing that skill. And you get an extra Vanguard attack, which will, like, you use the break ride skill to bounce stuff and call stuff, and you get another Vanguard attack, which is really, really good. And she also lets you count +1, +1 to bounce a rearguard, and then search your deck for a unit with the same name as that rearguard and add it to your hand, and then put a card from hand to your soul. So you can search out your PGs as well, which is nice. And of course, we run Roan as well because she searches out our duo PGs, which is very good. Spica does work in this deck too, as well as like the resists. We run 5 resists basically, / on bounce to draw cards. So that's basically it. 9k booster / attacker, and then of course the counter charger here as well. A little bit easier to accomplish, I would say. And then here the mirror stride actually does things. If your heart card, so the grade 3 under your stride, is a mirror, you can flip a unit face up to bounce one of your dual rearguards back to your hand, and then search your deck for a mirror and add it to your hand. But if you have a copy of her face up to the G zone, so if you basically flipped herself for her cost, then you can search for 2 mirrors and add them to your hand, which means that if you're sitting on the break ride, you can search out the new one into your hands just like that, which is pretty good. So this deck feels like it might be pretty decent. I don't think it's gonna be better than the Legion version of duos, but might be more fun and like more aggressive because you can do crazy battle phase combos. So I'm actually looking forward to playing with it, and it seems like a good time. So yeah, those are the day 1 decks. Later this week you'll get the Victor deck and fight, so look forward to that as well. Tomorrow I'll also be covering the OTT clan event, so you can look forward to that. So lots of Zero content for you guys this week. As always with, I guess release weeks, it's always like that after a new patch. But yeah, lots of things for you guys to look forward to, but that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please do give it a like, and if you do like my content, if you haven't already, please do subscribe because we're trying to reach 50k and we're getting pretty close. Other than that though, that's going to be it for me today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.